So before we get into the tool talk, though, I want to look at just exactly kind of what kind of data could help someone, any kind of seller, succeed on Amazon. So, Steph, what are the things that we like to look at to kind of help, again, help people succeed, help people do better?
Well, there's a lot of aspects to it, but usually when I'm going to do a brand audit, the first thing that I look at is the market, just to kind of see, who's out there, where does the brand sit within the market, and then you start kind of digging in from there to find out the why, right? So you might run some keyword reports, sales reports to identify trends, using a lot of different tools to really identify how many competitors are out there and what their strategies are. And so, there's a lot that goes into it, but in that's just kind of my process and where you start.
And like specific data points. So I know keywords is kind of hard because that might be going away soon, but like looking at sales data. So looking at like what kind of points do you look at competitor wise? Like what are you looking at, like how the competitors are doing to kind of identify opportunities?
Yeah, so, there's all kinds of different metrics that matter in terms of market share. So, the first thing we look at is how competitive is the market? Like who lives there? Who are the top players and how much market share do they actually own and what's available for your seller to capture? One thing we really look at is how much does Amazon live there, right? What's the 1P versus the 3P in the space? And is there an opportunity for a 3P seller to, increase their market share, both in that 3P realm, but maybe even up against some of those 1Ps. Other things that we look at in market is price. So we're really looking at, obviously where the client sits at in price point. Like, are they competitive on price or are they kind of riding more at a premium level? And then if they are, what kind of implications does that have? Like, what do they need to do to execute that premium price point within the market? So, those are kind of some things we look at with the market data. I also look at trends. So, really looking at buy it on a product by product basis. When the best selling seasons are, is it a seasonal product? Is it something that could be pushed throughout the year and isn't yet? Kind of looking at how different people are positioning products. That's really good market data as well. I know James has some experience in that, where positioning products as different uses. Maybe they're in a competitive, overly competitive category. I know he had an experience with a thermometer company where it was, during COVID they were hot because you were putting them on people's foreheads, but then that market got way oversaturated, and so they kind of repositioned them as a reptile tank thermometer, and it just took off, right? Because it was in another niche that was way more low key. And you'll see that type of thing in the market data, right? Because you're going to see what who the competitors are, and then as you start digging in, you're kind of seeing what categories they're living in and what price points they're riding at, and then really you can kind of build a custom plan for your brand or your product, or for me, for one of our brands, on how they're going to enter that market, how they're going to position their products, where they're going to price it, and all of that type of data.
Yeah, real good point, Stephanie. Yeah, definitely. Some other things that I do like is in some of the expectations that sellers have is they have to look at when they are getting that competitive analysis, seeing who's in the sandbox, right? How long have they been in the playground? Okay, so how long have they been a bully on the playground? And you can do that with the data. You can see when they first went live, what the review counts are, and obviously, if you're going up against products that have tens of thousands of reviews, the price point's a little bit less. That's where kind of Stephanie mentioned is kind of look for other playgrounds that this product or a product can fit into, and carve your own market and attack that way. That way, you get a good lift, a fast lift, instead of competing direct one to one. You can go find some other places that that particular leader is not playing in.
Right.
Yeah, this is great for yeah. Like I wanted to get kind of break down the data points into two groups of sellers: people that are looking to bring a new product into the market, people that are looking to find data on their product that is already established in their space in their category. So this is great for the former. I definitely want to get more into the weeds on this and looking at, okay, like what other kind of trends can we identify that we can use? And then start talking about the tools too, like Helium-10 and more specifically like Frankenstein or Magnet or Cerebro, and then Jungle Scout and Cobalt and all that stuff. So this is a great intro again to talking about just really just big data. I know I use that term loosely, but looking at, where can you identify maybe pain points even in the market. I feel like looking at one of the things I do for people that aren't on Amazon yet is definitely looking at review count for some competitors, and kind of identify, okay, like, what are, the big people are going to be having like thousands and thousands of reviews. You can't really compete with them right away. But looking at the people that don't have a whole lot of reviews, that maybe have under that 100 or even under that like 21 number, which this is what they say is the magic number. Under that 21, we can compete with them pretty easily because they're at sort of the same point you are, even though they're maybe on Amazon for a couple months and they have been selling a little bit. They're still not at a point where they're out of your, range. So a lot of factors in here for looking at just bringing a new product in, or even like a new business coming in, saying, okay, I want to list my first product, here's what I can look at. So
That's a good point, Pete. And I want to point out that when you're doing market analysis, that's something that I typically do as well. Is like James was talking about, looking at the OGs and how many reviews they have and how long they've been there, the ones that are capturing all the market share, but then also sorting to look at the brand new ones. Who launched in the last year? How many reviews have they gotten in the last year? What are their sales, right? And then that'll kind of tell you what entry point to the market there is. Like if you see, people that are coming in and they actually are kind of capturing some sales volume, then you can dig deeper and go beyond the market value. Start looking at keywords, start looking at brand analytics, start looking at things to see how they're capturing market share in that realm against those people with huge reviews. So
Yeah, I love that, Stephanie. That's that is huge to assess, right? You can always look at, like you said, the OGs, and let's say they're doing, let's say it's $1 million a year on Amazon, but they've had that stronghold for so long, and you've got these new to markets that are coming in, these new sellers, these new brands. You could actually kind of analyze and say, hey, someone's been on there a couple of years, some new noobs have been on there 6 months, and their revenue's this. Some have been in the market for 3 months, their revenue is this. And then you can kind of really see the progression of penetration on your market penetration or brand penetration. So that's really good, really good data, and that really does help people's expectations. The day of getting first to market and going gangbusters right at the beginnings sometimes isn't the case. You really have to know and strategize by the data of how it's going to go. You can't expect within 60 days to be like, yeah, about 100% market share. That just does not work out like that at all. Not anymore.
yeah, that would be nice if it did, but it simply does not. As we know, and as anyone that has ever interacted with any kind of with Amazon in any kind of form, it's not ever as simple as you want it to be.